I'm Olivia. Mila's down there on the floor. She was up here during my last video. She's coming back up, I think. She's definitely jumping up on mom vibes. Oceans. Yes, hello. This is Mila, and today we are reviewing The Bog Wife by Kay Chorister. Chorister? This one's hot off the presses. This was the October 2024 Fantastic Strangelings Book Club, not sponsored. As always, would love to have sponsored, but it's awesome. We have the $360 a year to spend on it, plus shipping. I always have my books shipped to me, even though Nowhere Bookstore's here in town, Nowhere Bookshop, sorry, is here in town. I actually have my books shipped to me because if I go into the store, I'll buy more books. And I have, yeah, my to be read pile is like, yay, right now. One of those is one book that's the yay thing, but still, it's a big TBR pile. I probably need to start working. Oh, I am working on it. What am I talking about? Anyway, this is The Bog Wife. It is the story of the Hattersley family who live on a bog, and they've spent their whole life being told that their family is that. I'm really spitballing this because I've only read this book once. That their family was the keepers of bogs in the Highlands of Scotland, and that when the family emigrated to the United States, to West Virginia, because it is all connected. When Pangaea was a thing, the Appalachian Mountains are so old, they're older than bones. I love that. I love that meme. If you've seen it, I'll see if I can figure out how to link it here. But basically, there are no skeletons, like prehistoric type skeletons in them, because the mountains, they're worn down and not very impressive in terms, like compared to like the Himalayas or the Rockies, Appalachians, Rockies. I'm pointing, even though I'm actually pointing north and south. But anyhow, and so the Appalachians are old. That's why they're not so impressive looking. They were impressive looking when they were as young as the Rockies are. But anyhow, they're really old, and they date from the days of Pangaea. And I've also heard it pronounced Pangea, but Gaia's the goddess of, was the goddess of the earth in Greek mythology. Pan means like across, so I've always kind of assumed I've heard Pangaea too, so I like that pronunciation better. So if it is technically Pangea, I apologize, but it just Pangaea makes sense. But yeah, back in those days, the Appalachians and the Scottish Highlands were one mountain range. So Mr. Hattersley has raised his 5 children on the story that they were keepers of a bog in like Scotland, and when they basically transferred to West Virginia, where they're keepers of a bog, they grew cranberries there. The family has fallen on hard times. There's 5 kids, and this family legend is that the eldest son will be given a wife by the bog. The bog will make a woman to have children for the patriarch of the family, and it's an exchange. The next patriarch will actually kill his father and put his body in the bog, and the bog will give him a wife. It's very weird, but I love it. Anyway, so the father's name is always Charles, and so the most recent patriarch is dying of cancer, probably. They don't go to doctors. They never leave the property. The only one who leaves the property, two kids of the 5 have left the property. One of them is the next patriarch, sort of, we'll get into that in a minute, who is allowed to go into town to buy supplies. And the other one is the middle daughter, Wenna, who ran away. She ran away 10 years ago. She got married. Her marriage is ending. That's a whole subplot here. And there's a whole subplot there. And so, but the other 3 kids have never left the boundaries of the property. Um, Recent development in the family, this is why I'm like kind of the next patriarch. Um, all the fathers, by the way, have the same signature. All the Charleses all have the same signature. They're taught it from a young age. And so the kids have never left the property, so nobody has a job. So they've been spending down this family fortune for, the family legend is 400 years. And there's not a lot of money left. The house has fallen into disrepair. There's hundreds of years of detritus and things. My dad just woke up and turned on the TV. We'll see how this comes out. I've never filmed when he's watching TV. So anyhow, and so since they're going to be putting their father down in hopes, so the house has fallen into disrepair, and a tree has fallen on the house, and it landed in just the perfect way to crush the latest Charles's pelvis. So he's like seriously injured, and it happened several years ago. He couldn't walk for a long time. He still needs a cane, and of course his reproductive organs are terribly damaged by it. So he wasn't the real take charge boss type anyhow, and now there's this, and so now they're like, well, what are you going to do about the inheritance? Is the Bog going to give you a wife? Can you father children now? Kinds of questions. And the Bog doesn't give him a wife. Now everything's all at six and sevens. What are we going to do now? How are we going to carry on the family? Who's going to take care of the Bog, because they're the caretakers of this Bog? What's going to happen? Well, at the midway point, Wenna comes home for her father's thing, which kind of puts the cat amongst the pigeons. That was was a Doctor Who episode where they used that phrase. I've heard it other places too, but that's where my brain goes. But anyhow, Doctor Who, classic Doctor Who is going to be another thing I'm going to recommend down the line probably. Anyway, so everything's now all because Wenna's back. Nora has the youngest daughter. There's Charles, there's Etta, Charles, Wenna, Percy, and Nora. And Nora has this kind of like unhealthy fixation on rescuing sick animals and her sister. No, she does not eventually make her sister sick in order to hang on to her. But anyhow, at the midway point of the book, when the Bog doesn't produce the wife, everybody's like, what are we going to do now? Wenna has upset the balance, and what are we going to do now? So before he died, the father said that, kind of implied that Etta could get pregnant and have a baby. Now, Etta's never left the property. She knows nothing about even how human reproduction works. They just don't. They never expected her to need this information because none of the younger kids were expected to ever reproduce. So she's never done this. She doesn't know what she's doing. She has to figure it out. Charles helps her. And the father left instructions on how to make a wife from nothing for Percy, the second youngest child. And eventually I'm going to do Follow Me to Ground, probably. And when I do that one, it's kind of similar to how the protagonist of Follow Me to Ground was made, putting a bunch of sticks and things in the bog, and supposedly it creates a woman. Well, at the halfway point, we discover something that the family has been lied to about something important. I'm kind of afraid to tell you what it is here, even though it's the halfway point. But they've been operating under false assumption for a long time. And the question is any of the rest of it true? And that's basically what the rest of the book is. Is any of the rest of it true? And then also, it's still with the tensions among the family, because Wenna has discovered that they only have $20,000 left. And that's not enough to support 5 people forever. So she decides that she wants to find out about selling the house, because it's the only thing they've got that's got any value. And then, she'll have to find a way to live in the outside world with her siblings, try to figure out how to get them skills to get jobs and things like that, so that they can build a life outside. So she's very concerned about her family's financial prospects because of this. So then Nora still, Wenna had a husband, and Wenna's husband has been writing letters to her, which Nora has been answering in an effort to drive a wedge between Wenna and her husband. Percy is fixated on this wife made from sticks that he's doing, and Charles is trying to figure out where his place is in all this now that there's no wife for him, and also what's going on with this lie that they've been told about their family history. So Etta's getting pregnant. Charles is trying to figure out what's going on. Wenna is trying to figure out how to help their family succeed financially with no money left. Percy's getting a wife, and Nora is freaking out about losing Wenna again and trying to what's the word I'm looking for? Trying to sabotage Wenna's relationship with her husband. So it's really good. I really loved it. Like I said, it's one of the few books I'm going to do here that I'm recommending after only one reading. All these other books I'm reading again, just make sure that it is something I want to recommend. I really enjoyed it. And also, again, if you have $360 plus shipping, consider joining the Fantastic Strangelings Book Club. They're all books like this. They're all, a lot of them are written by minority voices. There's a lot of people of color, gay, and all sorts of things, voices in there, which is really nice. And the books, they're hand-selected by Jenny Lawson, so they're really good books. Love it. Okay, now I'm going to probably do some spoilers now. If you want to stop here, stop here. As always, if you have any books you want to recommend, feel free to do it in the comments. I don't know if this ever takes off. I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm getting hundreds of comments, how I'm going to find your recommendations, but I will cross that bridge when I come to it. So, but if you have any recommendations, leave them in the comments. As always, feel free to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell icon if you want to do that. I try to post these at midnight on Thursdays. My goal is to have enough loaded ahead of time that eventually I can go to like Mondays and Thursdays maybe, and then maybe have more often. But for right now, they're going to launch at midnight on Thursdays. So I have my editing computer. I don't know if I mentioned it in this video yet. I have my editing computer. I do not have any peripherals or desk for it. So once I get all that, I can get this up and running. We can do more exciting things than just books. I can do movies and locations and parks and the whole island of Hawaii. And so you can leave here if you don't want to find out what Charles discovers about his family and what the kids discover about the Bog Wife. And I'll see you later. Okay, now let's do the spoilers. There is a couple of family heirlooms that Charles has been told, that the family's been told, date from colonial era. Because their family supposedly had money in Scotland, and they brought it over to the United States. And so they have this old magnifying glass and a globe. So Charles decides to make some money by selling them, and the uh, lady at the antique store is like, "Oh, these are lovely, lovely examples of late 19th century things." And he's like, "These are supposed to be from the 1600s." And she's like, "Oh, these are not from the 1600s. These are from the 1800s. Maybe as late as like 1910, but probably by 1897. Probably maybe as late as 19. But the year 1897 comes up in a minute." So, meanwhile, like I said, Wenna is trying to sell the house. So she takes a picture of the house to a real estate agent who says, "Oh, that's the old Maturin Folly. It's been empty for 100 years." And Wenna's like, "What?" Yes, it turns out that the father, the first Charles Hattersley, was not a Charles Hattersley. He lied to his children about their last name. His last name was actually Maturin, Maturin, maybe Maturin. I don't know. I don't speak French. Anyway, that Charles's father had been big in the coal mining industry, and so he took his inheritance, built this gigantic house on the edge of the bog, and raised his children, telling them that they've been the keepers of this bog for centuries. So now that we know that they're not actually the ancestral keepers of this bog, where are their mothers coming from? And so Percy's out there communing with what he thinks is his wife. He can hear her voice in his head. He can hear lots of voices in his head. And you're like, okay, is he having is this psychosis? What's going on here? Well, eventually a woman does emerge from the bog. It's their mother. The sticks are not producing a wife, but their mother actually did come from the bog. She actually is peat and earth and all that stuff. She doesn't really want to be back up above, but her kids clearly need her. So she comes out, and she's definitely more of a force of nature than a person, but she's able to give her kids the answers they need, which is, yes, there was a family tradition of the bog giving Charles Hattersley's wives, and the that has that agreement, the agreement between the Maturin / Hattersley family and the bog is over. There will be no more bog wives. They're going to have to just find another way to live. Eventually, Etta does get pregnant. Wenna extends an olive branch to her husband, which he apparently never takes up. Charles leaves. Charles has had it with us. He just gets in the car and goes. Meanwhile, during a terrible winter storm, the house basically falls apart. It has been living on this land, has been weighing down on the bog for such a long time that it's gone unstable, and it basically falls apart during a winter storm. So this leaves basically Wenna, Etta, Percy, and Nora, except that when Percy was becoming one with the ground while waiting for his wife, he discovered he could become one with the ground. So he does. He stands in one place long enough that he starts to develop roots. And he tells the other kids, maybe you can do this too. And the only one who chooses to do this is Nora, the one wants to rescue the animals and has got the weird obsession with her sister Wenna, and is, basically tried to ruin Wenna's marriage. Wenna realizes that the reason that Nora was able to ruin her marriage was because she never let her husband in. And so that's the olive branch she sets out. She sends a letter to her husband saying, "I've never really let you in. I would like to. If you want to pursue our relationship, you know where to find me. Come on out and see me. We'll see if we can." And judging by the end of the book, I don't think he ever does. So Etta eventually does have, at the very end of the book, Etta has the baby. She and Wenna are the only siblings left because Nora and Percy have become one with the bog, and Charles is gone. Charles, I don't know what's going to happen to him. He's just out there in the world. He has taken back his original last name, Maturin. And so, and Etta has her baby, and it's a girl. And that's how the book ends, with a little bit of note of hope after everything gets, you know, how's the family going to survive? We'll find out. I guess, they'll figure it out. So it was a really good book. Like I said, it's very rare that I recommend a book after only one reading. So I really enjoyed this. Fantastic Strange Things Book Club. Love it. It's like $30 plus shipping every month. I highly recommend it. Next up, I've got 2 books that I've written scripts for that I need to get off of the little laptop that I've been writing my scripts on. So those are going to be next. And I'm not sure what to do about the Inheritance Games books. I'm not sure whether I should make 3 separate videos about them or if I should make one video with all 3 books. Because the through line through the books is really good. I don't know. I would like to know more about. I need to research what Barnes intended with those books. Did she have this through line first, or did she kind of just write one book and then sort of cobble together? The through line's really great, so I kind of want to keep it all in one video. So that's kind of my next thing to contemplate. Again, as always, if you read any books that you think I'd like, feel free to recommend in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell icon, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.